plans is available, and they can be purchased. It's based on a ticketing system, so it's yearly. So just keep that in mind. All right, let's say if you haven't done so already, at some point you're going to want to register up here in the top right-hand corner. You're going to register to the support portal, and you'll get a so you can have login access. All right, I'm going to click on the support portal now. It does require the your email address. Okay, once logged in, you'll see the screen that looks like what we're looking at. On the right-hand side, there's a place where you can purchase support tickets, support plans. You can open support tickets, view your tickets that are currently available or opened. There's news items. There's a link here for your firmware. There's a forum that's active, and we hope everybody's participating in that. That's a good place to get answers. But you're going to spend most of your time here in the knowledge base, so that's what we want to look at here this morning. You've got the QX line, which we're going to look at in more detail. You got your software applications. Some of these applications, actually probably about half of them are free. Software downloads you can use. Some of them are used in conjunction with a software license key on the product, but I'm not going to go through all those at this point, but you can take a look at those later. Support resources, system configuration. We do a lot of configuration guides. Here's one on the QX features and configuration. A lot of different applications, and how, like for example, like how to configure callback service, click to dial, and look at the call routing table. So a lot of good white papers in there. There's one we want to look at over here on the right. It's IP phones and IP lines configuration. There is one document in here I'd like to highlight. It's the third one, QX IP PBX features on the Epygi supported IP phones list. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and open that one. And once we do, we'll show us some information here. All right, so that's open, so we can take a look at it. All right, so this is the features on the Epygi supported Epygi supported IP phones. I want to jump down to the table of contents here, and down around say down around page 12. You see this busy matrix chart has a list of all the different phones here on the left-hand side. It has the model number, and then going across the top, it has different features. For example, like video support, whether or not that phone supports video, whether or not it supports plug and play, firmware version control, whether or not that phone is a good receptionist phone. Okay, receptionist phone is one that we consider as one that you can put in a sidecar or an add-on module. All right, so if you're looking for certain phones and you're trying to compare them, this is a real good place to take a look. And it goes through and it lists all the different phone models, and then at some point it has additional features. Okay. All right, and then also at the there's sections in here for each different phone model. So as you're getting, so for example, maybe we'll take a look at the SNOME here real quick. So as you're getting familiar with these phone models, obviously certain things that you're going to want to do with the phone are pretty basic call handling, like how to put the call on hold, how to resume a call, how to answer the second incoming call. Most of those are pretty intuitive, but the differences come in where you start doing transfers. You got like a blind transfer and a consultative transfer. There's different keys that you press and different ways of accomplishing that. It varies from one phone to the next. All right, so as you're beginning to show your customers, you want to be able to have that available so you can show them. All right, so some good information there. Let's go back. Knowledge base. Just like to highlight a couple of these documents that I think are real useful and people overlook them. There's some ITSP configuration guides with some of the SIP trunk providers that we've worked with. We're not going to go through all these, but let's take a look at the QX line. All right, there's information, there's marketing material, there's some technical training, quick reference guides. The quick reference guide is a good one. Here's the QX reference guide for the PBX features. This will open in a Word document. Okay, and what this is going to do is this is going to give you the capability of being able to show your customer specific features. Okay, let me just drag it over here so we can take a look at it. And I can expand it a little bit so you can see it a little easier. So it is a Word document, so you can do your edits on it. And it's just a quick reference guide. It will read like a book where it has an outside cover. The 2 pages you're looking at here are on the inside pages. And as you can see, it's meant to be cut out. And it has, at the top, it has, how the customer would dial. Are they dialing with a 9, access code of the digit 9, and then their telephone number? Maybe they just dial 10 digits or 1 plus 10 digits. The emergency dialing, for example, like 911. How to access their voicemail, *0. Once they're in voicemail, some of the feature codes, options that they can use. On the right-hand side, different features like *4. Of course, you can delete some of these if they're not using these. And then on the back side, some feature codes related to the auto tenant, our default auto tenant, I might add, where you can have things like access to voicemail, *0, call relay, *2, call forwarding, *4. And then on the front cover, you could put your contact information and picture there. Okay, so something good you can leave with the customer so that they know how to use their phones. All right, let's take a look at the products. For example, like the QX200, you've got the technical data sheets, product images, logos, manuals. There's 3 manuals. There's the installation guide, administrator's guide, and then the end user guide with the different features, how to use features. So 3 documents that are available. We'll look at firmware. The latest firmware on the product is the 6.2.6, and it was posted here at the beginning of March. Each time we post a new document, we will send out the software release notes, and on the software release notes, it has details about what's included in this software release. So let's take a lot of good information in here. So let's take a look at it. I'm going to shrink it just a little bit. All right, I often get asked what type of phones does Epygi work with, or which ones do we support, which ones are best with the product. This, the document I showed you previously, that's a good one, but this is probably the latest and most up-to-date list of phones. Okay, it has the phone vendor, the phone model, the recommended firmware version. Okay, and why do we put that? Because the phone vendor is always coming out with, as we are, always coming out with new firmware, updated firmware. And so when you get the phone out of the box, it may have some old firmware. It may have the latest and greatest firmware from that manufacturer, which we may or may not have tested yet. So you want to take a look at, we know that with this version 6.2.6 and these firmware versions of the phone, at that point it establishes a good baseline where all the features are tested and working. Okay, so if you do have some issues with the phone, some unusual problems or things like that, you want to check the firmware version. All right, so we're also trying to update to some of their latest firmware and getting those tested, but we sometimes we run behind on that a little bit. All right, and then on the right hand side is whether or not that phone supports plug and play, which allows you to connect the phone to the system and then it will automatically configure it. All right, impressive list of phones. As most of you are aware, we support. We will configure all these phones. Okay, so there's Alcatel, Cisco, Fanville, Grandstream, the Mitel/Astra phones, Panasonics, Polycoms, Snom, VTech, Yeelink. All right, so and then down below it mentions the updates, the features that were added into this release. 6.2.6 didn't really bring on any new features. Most of those were added in 6.2.5. So 6.2.6 was more of a maintenance release. We will come out with these releases maybe once a quarter. It's basically we don't hold ourselves to coming out with a certain release so it's as needed. Okay, so and then we'll also mention any features or changes that were done in this release. Okay, so for example, like with the Polycoms phones, they were updated from this firmware version to their latest 5.7. Okay. All right, so let's just keep an eye on that. Of course, any problems that were fixed and any known issues, workarounds for those issues. So software release notes, take a look at those, keep them close to you. A lot of good information in there. All right, at this point, the only other thing I want to take a look at is if you search on the word secure, as in security, you'll see several documents, the title of which on some of these should catch your attention. Okay, for example, how to preventing unauthorized calls. About the fourth one down, preventing unauthorized calls on the QX/IP PBXs. All right, so obviously the title should, as I mentioned, should catch your attention. The system by default is secure. Okay, people can't use it to make unauthorized calls. All right, and you want to make sure that you maintain that security going forward as you begin adding enhancements, SIP trunks, features, and all these things, different routing scenarios. So you want to make sure you're able to maintain that security going forward. So it'll give you some insight on some of our features as well. Not to scare anybody, but it's ever since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of PBXs, there's always been somebody out there trying to log into them, access the voicemail, and be able to make long distance phone calls. And it's even more prevalent these days with the systems out there on the internet, public IPs. And we do have a built-in firewall. We've added a lot of security enhancements. So it's not something, but this, it's not something unique to Epygi. It's obviously within the industry. And we've done a lot of work on this front. I'm real pleased where we are. I think we're even ahead of the curve. And a lot of people will buy and purchase the Epygi product line because of some of a lot of the security enhancements that we've added. And we will take a look at those as we go forward. All right, so let's jump over. We're going to log into, it's going to be a QX200. All right, when you initially go to connect to the system, we have a LAN port and we have a WAN port. Okay, so you'll initially connect to the system through with your PC to the LAN port.